shaken up last week. Moved into the community, Harry Harshtuck, you know. Just moved in last week, an older man, 73, so he's older than my age, 73, 74. Went to Chaim for Shabbos. He said, is there any place he can spend Shabbos? Nice guy, moved into the Harmony, very nice man. And this morning somebody told me he had a heart attack and he died. And he had all kinds of plans with what he was going to do with the shul and what he was going to do with, you know, while he get to finish some mesechtas he never got to finish. Shook me up. You know who he is? Last week he was standing by the shiur. He said, "What's going on now?" So he said, "Rob's giving a shiur." He says, "Okay, I'll stay for the shiur." Remember, he was here last week for the shiur, Thursday. Okay. You should have lichtik in Gan Eden, an easy time in Shemayim. We should all be zoche tarichas yom. Amen. So, as Rabbi Yitzchak says, like we can't finish with the sugya of Mishmar Shlishi, so intriguing, the Mishmaris of a Laila, and but we are nearing the end of what Rav Tzadok is talking about for Oisius and Oisius about the Gemara that says, just to remind you, that the night is divided into three parts. First part, the simonim in the Aretz are that the chamar noer, that you'll hear donkeys making noise. The second part, you'll hear dogs barking. And the third part, which is what we're learning this morning, is in a way the most intriguing of the simonim in Ba'aretz, and that is that the baby wakes up to eat. The isha misaperes im bala, and the wife is feeding the baby, has discussions, early morning discussions with her husband. And that's the siman that in Shemayim something unbelievable is happening. That's the changing of the guard, the Mishmar Hashlishi is taking place. And one of the things that Tzadok said a couple of times is that there is a number of things that this mean, and they're all true. But one of the things that this refers to, these three Mishmaris of the Laila, which to me is the most intriguing of it all, is that it refers to, the Laila refers to the Golus. The Golus which started a couple thousand years ago and is ending now, should be divided into three. He makes this point a number of times, including today. We're going to learn it inside. Then at the end of the three Mishmaris is morning has broken, becomes morning, and that's the Geula. So it really refers to three parts of the Geula, the Chamar Noyer, Klavim Tsayakim, and everything that means. We learned so much about dogs. And now we're going to learn about babies. The baby wakes up, wants to feed, wants to eat from its mother. The mother feeds the baby. And at the same time, Misaperes Imbala is talking about, what does this mean? Liyamenu. I find, by the way, that it's, tell me if you're with me on this, I presume you are, but like if we lived in the time of the Tanoim, you know, time of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai or Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim, so we would know that there's still a long golus ahead of us. Living in the times that we're living now, according to all accounts, what we could say is there is a long golus behind us. And like we're at the end. The end is not necessarily an easy end. I don't know, you have to be a Navi to know what, but at least we're at the end, according to all accounts, whether you're a chassid, a besnagid, a makubal, whatever, however you're working it out. We don't count like Mashiach is coming today, tomorrow, the next day. I don't know. I have no idea. But what is clear is we're at the end of this tkufa of the Shalosh Mishmaris. And here, let's just learn inside. I found this particular chavav to be very actually moving. Mishmar Shlishi, the third Mishmar, is marked by Tinag Yoinek, child nursing the Isha Misaperes, and the woman, the wife, the mother, talking. Shneim Yachad, and they both happen at one time. The baby's feeding while the mother's talking to her husband. That's the only time that such a phenomenon happens is in the Mishmar Shlishi. What it means is that sometimes the baby can get up in the middle of the night. So I joked at the beginning of this whole Gemara, so the baby didn't get to this Gemara yet. It's not supposed to get up until the Mishmar Shlishi. But no, of course the baby gets up many times. And of course the Isha B'Saperes Bala many times. All day long an Isha could be B'Saperes Bala. All night long an Isha could be B'Saperes Bala. But the uniqueness of the moment is that's all happening at the same time. Tinoik Yoinek, mother obviously gets up to feed the baby. So there's this kind of threesome, this trifecta, which marks, it's the three together, says Rav Tzadok, which marks the Mishmar. Not that one of these things are happening. Yukulam na'orim bizman echad. And to put it more specifically, everybody's awake. The baby's awake, the mother's awake, the father's awake. Everybody's awake at this moment. What do we learn from this? Yinikas tinoik mishtei imai haTorah. What is we find this over and over again in Chazal, by the way, that the Torah, the body of Torah, nidme lechalavu ledvash. You find that mashal a lot. It's like milk. What's that have to do with milk? Milk means, when we're talking about chalav ha'em, it refers to the really miraculous situation of a mother giving over to their child. In other words, it's not just milk. You can take out some Gerber's baby food and feed the baby. What's the chiddush? The chiddush here is that the mother is supplied, which gets very deep, with the sustenance for the child. So that's the mashal to Torah, because Torah is not just something to nash on. The Torah is the sustenance of Klal Yisrael. So you have Hashem. Let's just make it crystal clear here. We have Hashem. We have our guf. And then we have our neshama, which is being able to, what is the neshama? What is he doing? Is that a long-term thing? Yeah. Okay. Are you? Thank you.
You're doing the work outside your office, building something about food.
The Torah is, I'm not good at concentrating. There's the guf. Okay, so you're a guf, like an animal. Then there's the neshama, which is completely spiritual. And what is the neshama? The neshama is makabel from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the nourishment. So all of the yanika, mamash yanika, that's coming to who we are and what we are is coming through the neshama. So that's Torah. But Torah is a bigger word than the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Torah is the Hira, or the instructions, ongoing instructions, as we'll see, the ongoing instructions from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to our guf. So that's the Torah. So Tinoik mishtei imai haTorah, kasheisha misaperes, and the woman is talking. V'yagama of, so in the nimshal, the father in this case is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. K'moshe amru b'reish parakei tzad mevarchim yishtasha b'yinikas hatinoik zerak b'moishmar shlishi rather. Var shalem b'maisim u'va'avodah shebelev. So what's happening here in the Mishmar Shlishi? What's going on is that in the Nimshal I'm talking about is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is involved. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also throughout Kabbalah, Bechinas Abba, and then there's the Shechina, which is the Ima, and the Yanikas Chalav is the Torah, and it's going to the Tinoik, which is us. So that's what's important to understand about what's going on in the Mishmar Shlishi.
What's the shteima?
What are the shteima? In other words, that's the kalim through which the Yanika comes to Klal Yisrael. I think what's important here is that what's important here is that there's an ongoing flow. One of the first you said that's important, but it gets so much more important because you'll see.
Okay, then.
See, let me just jump the gun and say something here. Physical fact, and throughout the Zohar, this point, that if there's no baby to eat, there's no sustenance and nourishment that the mother gives off. Mother decides not to nurse, there's no milk. It's very even difficult to reverse that situation. So what's very unusual about the situation is not just you have this kind of like down nourishment from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the mother, to the baby, to us. It goes according to the demands and the needs and the hishtoikakus of the child. Mother needs the baby needs to eat more. The mother has more milk. So the baby doesn't want to eat it all. The mother has no milk. But derech klal, that's the way it's supposed to work. Al pi teva. So if you just carry over to this nimshal, this is why I said it's moving to me, that the amount of Torah that we will receive in any given generation is the amount of Torah that we want to receive. The hungrier we are for the Dvar Hashem, the more the Dvar Hashem will emanate, which means, the way Reb Tzadok puts it here, I'm going to go a little bit further in a moment, but what it means is that if we're talking about the baby being the hamonam, all of us, the nursing mother, in this case, as he puts it, are the Gedolei Yisrael, meaning whoever are, whether it's Nevi'im, whether it's Moshe Rabbeinu, whether it's Abai and Rava, the Gedolei Yisrael are giving it over to the generation. How much Torah and what quality of Torah are the Gedolei Yisrael, whatever they are, the leaders' generation, given over to the generation? The answer is, how much do you want? But it's not just we'll give you what you want. It's deeper than that. We will have available, we will understand, we will know. If you need prophecy, we will have prophecy. If you need lumdus, we will be lumdonim. Whatever the dar is requiring, whatever in the mashal the baby needs to eat, the mother will produce.
But we have to access it.
Not just access it, but want it.
Who's going to determine if we need prophecy? Hashem or us?
So, I'll tell you something that the pasuk. Last week I mentioned Shlomo Karlbach. Mentioned again that came and he did a concert with us in Buffalo. It was 40 years ago or something like that. So didn't have anything. It was in the basement of the shul and put a bunch of tables like this together and stood up on top of the table and sang with our tzibur. So actually quite a beautiful thing. And there was a guy there who I just made a kesher with. He was married to a non-Jew, and he was not religious at all, but somehow I met him on Hurdle Avenue there on the street, and I brought him over to my house. And I don't know, wasn't much of a interesting fellow. But anyways, I schlepped him to this concert. And it was kind of cold to the whole thing, you got to be into it. That type of kumsitz atmosphere, So, and then Karlbach started to talk about Hine Yomim Bayim Num Hashem. Days are coming, as he put it, and there'll be a hunger in the world, using his words. And the hunger won't be for food, and the thirst won't be for water. Ki im lishmaya divrei Hashem. Ki im lishki Hashem. Okay, good. This fellow next to me, like, I don't know, like somehow S.I. and I didn't do it, and this like, he just, and he said to me, okay, I'm going to go. Like, that's me. Hungry, thirsty, couldn't figure out what the hunger was, what the thirst was. Now I know what it is, and I'm going for it. It became the, He finished Shas already. Yeah. Finished Shas, yeah. Very chashuva person. Remarried, children are b'nei Torah. It's a basic from the digging. I mean, I also put in 6 years into it, but it was mostly the digging.
You got him into the shul.
No, I'll take full credit. I'm just saying. I'm saying that it's like the nekuda is that I always say this part that like a shul gets the rabbi they deserve. So meaning like according to what the needs and the hishtreikis and the thirst and the hunger of a particular group of people, whether it be yeshiva, shul, whatever it might be. So the leader of that community will have bestowed upon him or her the chachma which is needed to be able to lead that community. So if everyone is needing nevuah, so the Rav will be a Navi. If everyone's needing a tzaddik, so the Rav will be a tzaddik. Everyone's needing like a big intellect, will be an intellect. Like the energy doesn't come only from on top. The energy comes from the bottom. So this is a new taich in Isarusa de Lasata. It's not the regular pshat Isarusa de Lasata. Regular pshat Isarusa de Lasata is we come to Har Sinai. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us the Torah. But here, it's everything. There's a certain lineup of the baby wakes up. That would be us. Looking for food. That would be Torah. Going to the mother, which would be, as he says, the Gedolei Yisrael. And the Gedolei Yisrael, Mesaperes im Bala, are in direct connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's the sequence that he's referring here that's going on, like as we speak. So comes to Rav Tzadok and he asks a kasha, stira. Hine b'maisa, if you look at it in the actual physical order of events, hiktim tinaik yoinek shehu hamoyer koidem lahem v'hi moyer slabala. What's the order of events here? The order of events that we're learning in this Gemara is that the baby wakes up, wants to eat, wakes up the mother talks to the father, who I guess is awake. So, right, hiktim tinak yoinek shehu amoyer koidem laim. The baby wakes up the mother. So this becomes in the nimshal imkain. This is the Bnei Yisrael waking up the Gedolei Yisrael to teach them Torah. Wake up, we want to learn. It's your job. Is this, by the way, I don't mean to go on this tangent, but it's so true. If you look through the great svarim of all the different generations, you'll see that they're different. The svarim that are coming out today are very different than the svarim that are coming out 100 years ago, even by Big Gedolim, even by the Chavetz Chaim, and it's a different need. Did we become bigger mekubalim than they were in the time of the Chavetz Chaim or Rabbi Akiva Eiger? Because according to the need, so that's the demand, and according to the demand, that's the spiritual nutrition that we need, and that in itself activates the teachers of Klal Yisrael to be able to give over this type of nourishment, all in consultation, if you will, with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, with the Baal. So the order of events is children first, mother second, HaKadosh Baruch Hu third. Says yeah.
Why is this the geula that experience? If anything, maybe it should be more gullus that have that thirst for Torah.
It's the end of the gullus, right? The Mishmar Shlishi.
Right. So, but why is the thirst for Torah as a man? Specifically
I think because the Zohar says that whenever, which we can actually get to, whenever we have this thirst, like he says, like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai would say, now daven for the geula. Meaning the pipes are open. So what we're doing is opening up the pipes, and once we open up the pipes, so then there could be the geula. Isn't that what it means?
Yeah, but why shouldn't that experience of the thirst be throughout the gullus?
Throughout the night.
Throughout the night.
The Rav explained, according to the tzibor, is going to be what the Guda Mashpi is going to be. So it is kind of like an ongoing kind of.
And he also says there are such incidents throughout Golos, but this to me it's pashut. Maybe I shouldn't be so pashut that, like, let's talk about like the time we live in. There's such a kind of an emptiness, such a hunger, which the Navi spoke about. There's such a hunger that there should have been a bigger hunger 500 years ago. You're asking, okay, but there wasn't. There wasn't. There was big moves away. There's such a hunger, and it's such a hunger, by the way, it's such a thirst. You'll say, okay, well, then what happened to the Baal Tshuva movement? Is it like, who said that was satisfying the hunger? Maybe we weren't satisfying the kind of deep spirituality and meaning that they need. But like we see it now. Why? I don't know why. I just saying the Metzias is that, I don't know what like I said, we're at the end of Golos. You could see this. You could see that people are looking for the Yamim Bayim. It's Yamim Bayim. They came.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that the Mishnah in Sota, talking about Ikra and Mashiach, it's a totally different description than in
the beginning of Brachas.
In the beginning of Brachas. How do we reconcile that?
Yeah.
It's not a stira.
It's over there it's talking about all the Yerida, and over here it's talking about an Aliyah.
So maybe this all answers the same question.
Right. Depends how you want to do it, maybe.
Or because of the Yerida, like hunger. We're so starving.
And it's only a simon. It's not the guru.
Yeah, but even before the simon, I mean, in other words, it's the hunger gufa. Like it's stavra to me that the lower you are, the higher you want to be. In other words, like we're kind of at a point of desperation, which the Mishnah in Saita is explaining here, is describing. I just want to lose the thought here. So there's a steer in the Gemara. The steer in the Gemara is that from here until a few pages later in the Gemara, where it talks about Zman Kriya Shema. So here it says that the order is Hiktim Tinag Yoneg Shehu Amoirer Koidem Leim. The baby obviously wakes up before the mother. He Moirer Es Labal, and then she goes and wakes up her husband, and let's have a party. Avlahalon Bishmiela Cherim Laman Degana Beisofel. The Gemara talks later on about a case of somebody who's in a completely blacked out room, no windows, and doesn't know when Zman Kriya Shema is. Like let's say you're on a 747 flying to New York, and they darken all the windows. You have no idea. It's time for Kriya Shema. Your time's mixed up. Everything's mixed up. What are you supposed to do? So the Gemara says, well, this is how you know. You listen carefully, and you'll hear Isha Misaperes Imbala. You'll hear the simon. You'll hear husbands and wives start talking on the plane. Shekoilam nishma v'shomea koidem. You're going to hear them talking. Be'achar kach, and then says the Gemara, you'll listen more carefully. Shemata oznai shema kaltinoik yoinik. You're going to hear, the baby woke up and the baby wants to eat. So you're going to hear signs of mourning, M-O-R-N. You're going to hear signs of mourning. The signs of mourning are going to be, you're going to hear people talking, husbands and wives talking. So you're going to hear the baby crying, and before you know it, the sun's going to be shining. Gula is coming. But why in our Mishmarais the Tinai comes first? Her Tzadok question. And in the simon of Kriya Shema, Zman Kriya Shema that's coming later in the Gemara Daf Zayin, I think. Daf Zayin. So over there comes the Isha before the Tinai. You're going to hear what you're going to hear. HaNimshal, in the Nimshal, Yenikas Tinoika shall beis Rabban Mishtei Imam, that in the Nimshal of the second Gemara, that Yenikas Tinoika shall beis Rabban, this that the children of Klal Yisrael, us, are going to be Yonek Mishtei Imam, want to nurse from their mother, which is Knesset Yisrael, Kamashama B'her Ketzad Mevarchen, Roshei Hadar. So what comes first? So what comes first? Does the baby, do you understand the profundity of this question? The profundity of the question, what comes first? You go into a situation, a community, not even by Jews. You see a great leader. You say, look what this great leader, was able to get the people to do. So what, in that case, okay, the great leader came. If he would have moved to a different city, a different community, they would have gotten them to do. Or you can say, that over here in this community, the people were really mishtoikek for a certain kind of godless, and mamela from them, grew out, not even came, but grew out a tremendous leader, because that's what the people were demanding. So is it the Tinoch crying first, or is it the mother crying, the mother talking first?
It's a machloket by historians. Whether
how this works.
The people, the great people influence everyone else, or that the great people are a product of...
Like the populist... Oh, very nice. Right. But I'm saying, even I'm suggesting that, like, even sociologically speaking, like they always talk about leaders that came before their time. So a leader comes before his time has no effect, because nobody was willing to hear that. Say, whoa, what a visionary! No, it wasn't matim. It wasn't a shidduch to the people. It has to be by the people, of the people, from the people. It has to be to bring the godless down. Otherwise, it's not a shidduch. Which is why every generation has the gedolim that it has, different kind of gedolim, and the different svarim that it has, different types of leadership that it has. And by the way, I think this is true by Jews and by non-Jews, and you look at the different movements that have happened throughout the world history. It's not it could be the leader that's bringing it. So this is a steer in the Gemara. Is it the leader that's bringing it to the people, or is like who wakes up first, the mother or the baby? So we have two different Gemaras. So Rav Tzadok answers, "Be'emes Tinoch yoidek koinem." He said the truth is that the Tinoch is always yoidek first. Rak lahargoshes ayim bnei adam, but the guy who's sitting on the other side of the plane, the guy who's dar base. I used to go to the Othel, a place which is all dark. So if you're on the inside, you know the mechanism that's happening. Like imagine, I don't know if this is true or not, I don't remember, but like imagine such a thing that a mother will always wake up a second before the baby starts to cry. Or is it the baby waking up the mother? We're talking about, so he says the emes is that the baby has to wake up and want to eat before the mother has anything at all to feed them, to feed the baby. Yeah, in a whole new deep way, So that's the yishuv of the Gemara. One Gemara says the order is the baby starts first. That's the mishmar shlishi. So that's the emes. But on a deeper level. But when it comes to the not a deeper level, on a more shallow level, when it's just about somebody watching from the outside, so it looks like the isha b'saperes before the tinoch is yoinek. So be'emes tinoch yoinek koydem rak lahargoshes ayin b'nei adam isha b'saperes koydem.
So that's the gedolim.
He calls them the Gedolei Yisrael. I have an example of this. The Gemara asked the question, Yecheskel had a nevuah right after the Chorban Bayis Rishon. He went to Chutzlaretz, he went to Bavel, and there he had a nevuah. Not just a nevuah, but like the most complex Kabbalistic nevuah, the Meiser Merkava. That was possible. So the Gemara asked the question that there's no nevuah in Chutzlaretz. There's no, and according to some, there's no nevuah unless the Beis HaMikdash is kaim. Tarta L'Reis said, no Beis HaMikdash. This answers your question a little. No Beis HaMikdash, no Eretz Yisrael. There he is in Bavel, and he's having the most fantastic nevuah in history. So we can, from Moshe Rabbeinu, there hasn't been such a nevuah. Says the Gemara. Why? Because we needed that nevuah. As it was, because of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, and because of the Golos, and because of the I mean, if you can only imagine the pain and the suffering and the tiltul haderech and losing our homes and losing our families and losing our Beis HaMikdash, which might have been even, just more of a simon than the Siba, well, we lost everything. Lost our businesses, we lost everything, and we went into Bavel. It wasn't stop. It was like... God forbid, like American jury who has to march out tomorrow. you're talking about a huge Golus, and it was there in that place. It was there in that place where the people were mishtoikek for Dvar Hashem. Give us meaning. What is this all about? Why is this happening? What do we do? Until the Nevi'im were able to say, Mipnei chatoinu galinu me'artzeinu. And until Yecheskel was able to say a nevuah of Merkava, the Shekhinah is on wheels, it's coming with us. It's the Merkava, that's what Merkava means, right? The Shekhinah is going wherever we're going, and it's going to come back to Eretz Yisrael. And until we talked about Shivas Tzion, all of that came because there was because we were just kind of floating around, and Gilui Arai, Shvichas Damim, Avodah Zarah, we were just playing around over there in Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael. But when we lost everything, we were a mistake. So you talk about the end of Golus. So it was Golus itself, which was Meir. That's why I don't want to just say Isarusa Lusata. There's something much deeper here. That it was the Golus itself which was mistake, which made Klal Yisrael be mistake for a Dvar Hashem, and therefore Yecheskel came from nowhere. Mamish from nowhere. Yecheskel ben Buzi. he came from nowhere, and he was mechazek the whole of Klal Yisrael. It's not so much different, l'dati, than the kind of gilui that Moshe Rabbeinu gave on Har Sinai, or had on Har Sinai. Because here we were, downtrodden Mitzrayim, Ovdei Avodah Zarah, we almost completely assimilated. We had lost everything. And here we left out Mitzrayim, and comes Moshe Rabbeinu, not just to be the hero to take us out of Mitzrayim, but all of a sudden, Gilui Dvar Hashem. Why? Because Klal Yisrael needed to have at that moment, even the ego was a hishtoikikis gone bad. But there was a hishtoikikis for meaning, for the Shekhinah, for give me something. They thought Moshe Rabbeinu, we were crude that way. I think that maybe Moshe Rabbeinu, he's gone. Like we didn't know what, but what was clear is that there was a hishtoikikos. There was a hishtoikikos for Dvar Hashem, and what do we get? We had the biggest gilui ever to be in history. That there'll never be a gilui, which was the gilui of Mountain Torah. Which as I mentioned on Shabbos, it wasn't necessarily part of the plan. The whole Mountain Torah, like you don't find Moshe Rabbeinu standing in Mitzrayim saying, "Let's go to the Midbar and get the Torah." Doesn't say anywhere. Not in Shmos, not in Vayer, not in Bo, not in Mishalach. So you go to the end of Mishpatim, and they brought Karbanos on Har Sinai, and they brought Moshe Rabbeinu spritz blood all over the place, and that's what they were expecting. Gilui Hashem. Why should there be a Gilui Hashem? It was a complete haftarah, complete surprise to them, even to Moshe Rabbeinu. It was a complete surprise, but you see, this was the hishtoikikos of Klal Yisrael, and you can see it over and over again. It's going to be the same thing with the Geula. That's his point. The same thing as the Geula, that the baby, which is us, wakes up the mother, which is that's Yisrael, Gedolei Yisrael, Shchinas Yisrael, which actually wakes up HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, and creates the flow of the Geula.
The cook has a Parish on part of the Cheskel where it says, "V'ani b'soich ha'goylo." So he explains, "V'ani."
Cheskel said.
Cheskel said, "V'ani b'soich ha'goylo." So he says, "The ani." The P'chinas ani is b'soich ha'goylo, and that's the confusion of I am in Golos. I'm the existential ani is in Golos. That brings some of what we were saying.
That's what brings.
It brings the awakening. The confusion brings the hunger, which brings the...
I went existentially into Golus. Wow.
So maybe that's where Tzidkas Hatzadik is in. That's our Eshuluz of the Tatzah.
Yeah. That was last week. The Emsa, the Emsiusa. It's all the process.
I'm thinking like what there's so much confusion in the world, in the Jewish world right now, so much division. And now it's coming to a...
Look, if we're talking, I want to tell you my agenda here. The agenda is that, if we can zero in to what people need, then we will have the goods to deliver. I say we like we're on some kind of higher madrega, but let's say we are. If we're going top down. We're saying, okay, I'm going to come up with this gimmick and that gimmick, and it's not gonna. So what we have to do is listen to the tinok that's crying for something. So what is the? It's so hard to hear. And as I was saying, if you're in the next room, you can't even hear it. You don't hear the tinok being yonik. You only hear the isha b'saperes ibala. Then kishabata oznai. If you look more carefully, listen more carefully. Listen. Do you see how deep this is? This is what Rav Tzadok said. Do you understand how deep this is?
Family members are almost here like tinuka.
So here we are in a side room, hearing the isha b'saperes ibala say, "What's going on over here?" It's the middle of the night, right? What are you doing? Then we listen carefully. We see the tinuk yonik. What does it mean? As Rav Tzadok explains, it means to say that we have to hear the bakasha of the tinuk yonik, which is so hard to hear. If you're looking now and you stop somebody in the middle of Midtown Manhattan and say, "What are you searching for?" So they'll say, what he's looking for
Parking space.
Parking space, or they heard there's a deli over here. Tel Aviv. What about Bet Shemesh? Like, what are the kids looking for? And if you'll see, I mean, I'm not saying this is mussar to myself, but if you listen carefully to what our own kids are asking for, you have to ask yourself, are we actually delivering these goods? So, and do we have these goods to deliver? Are they looking for something which is not superficial, if you ask me? They're looking for something very deep. Maybe they can't articulate it, but they're looking for something which is very deep, very consistent, something to be proud of, something which makes me feel holy and special. And not necessarily only a bunch of rules. The rules are good, but not only a bunch of rules. So if you can tune yourself in, but you got to get out of the base office. You got to get out of the you got to get out of the dark room, go closer, and be able to listen. And that person who's able to listen, or if the whole generation's able to listen, then you have a continuation. Because but the chiddush here is much deeper than that. That's to me pshita, that we're not hearing the. Don't hear it, but the chiddush is deeper than that. Let's say we don't have those goods to deliver. So the answer is, they come. They come. It was impossible, even when I was a kid, it was impossible to understand how there could possibly be in the United States of America a day school movement, or a Lakewood type of movement, or a Balshuva movement. These were things which were like Mapitobo. It was just droves of people, just had no choice of being B'chal Shabbos. Everybody, being B'chal Shabbos. It was the Orthodox shuls. When I was a kid, the Reform Temple had 2,000 families. The Conservative had 1,000 families. The Orthodox scraping for 1 million. That's what it was. It's Baruch Hashem. Some of that has turned around in some places. There's no question about it. But it was possibly, or let's put it this way, it was an impossible task. But when there's a yearning, all of a sudden, this is what he's saying. All of a sudden, the Gedolei Yisrael don't just listen to it, but they have actually the kelim to give over. They all of a sudden get these kelim.
What stimulated the desire to begin with? Like, we're already assuming that the kids are going to yonik, but who told them to wake up, to finally wake up?
What do you mean who told them? The neshama is crying, just like you and I are looking for. The neshama is crying, and it's a job to give it. And then, look what happens is even better. Then you have all of a sudden communication with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is the Isha B'Saperes Ibala. All things have to happen simultaneously. And it's just so important for the generation that we're in. Everything has to happen. Days are coming. Days are here. Days are here where all this trifecta can take place. Yeah.
The phase in Mitzrayim of Shamas and Akasam. First of all, was there a makasha in that, or was it just expression of pain? And how does it stem with what we're talking about? Is it before Tinuk Yonik, or
it's exactly what Rabbi Yitzchak saying. I think that Akosam, Zakosam, Shavosam. It's all the. It was all different words. Let me answer you. It was all different words of the neshama crying out for help. So there's many Perushim, but it's all the neshama crying out for help. So what happens is that here we are in Mitzrayim, so assimilated, so into the Memta Shari Tuma, so exhausted physically from the slavery, and so not knowing anything else. There was generations that were born and died in slavery. They didn't know any other way of life. This is just what we are. We're just Jews, and we're Jews are slaves. But somehow or another, the neshama was alive and well, and the neshama is crying out. All of a sudden, from nowhere, pops out a Moshe Rabbeinu. Isn't it true? Where'd he come from? Like it wasn't even. There was nothing obvious about Moshe Rabbeinu, particularly not when he was 20, but when he was 80. Like Mapitob, he was out there with Yisro. But the answer is that when the Tinoik is hungry, even if we don't even know we're hungry, how much the baby is cognizant of the fact that the baby is hungry, so that all of a sudden the mother wakes up. That's Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu is mischaber with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Look what's going on over here. This is exactly the Gemara. It's exactly the Gemara, so you don't even have to go to Yecheskel. It's exactly the case of the Jewish people. And it's over and over and over again. Tein lanu melech, shtim lech aleinu. It's soim tasim aleinu melech. It's a davar. Or Kabbalah Kasav B'Sefer told us Yaakov Yosef, Siddur Sefer, grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. Al Pasuk, Gomar Chassid Kifasu Emunim. What does the Pasuk say? Hoshia Hashem, it says on the bottom, that's how I know. Hoshia Hashem Ki Gomar Chassid, Hashem should save us because there are no longer any righteous people. Kifasu emunim. What does kifasu emunim mean? What do you say, Chaim? Kifasu emunim. So the Metzudas Tzion says, go ahead. Kifasu emunim mefasfes, we lost everybody with faith. Gamar chosid kifasu emunim. The hikra mireisha l'seifel miseifel l'reisha medrash. So comes the Toldus and he says that you got to read the pasuk backwards.
Doesn't keep asking the look for?
Shalakach, I'm reading he has on the bottom the lashon of the Toldus. Lakach gamar chassid. Was another reason. Gamar chassid. There are no more chassid. Doesn't mean chassid. Gamar chassid. There's no more tzaddikim in the world. Why? Kifasu emunim, because nobody is asking and demanding them to be tzaddikim.
Pasu means?
They're gone. Efes. You hear how this pasuk is read? Gomar chassid, kifasu emunim. It's a reason. Why is it Gomar chassid? Why don't we have any tzaddikim? Because we're not demanding any tzaddikim.
So emunim means demanding, as it could be mevakshei Hashem or something like that.
No, nobody's believing that they can do it. So it's so. Here's the thing, if somebody says, give a 10 seconds of Musar, people say, where are the Dolev? They're not like what they used to be. So, right, everybody says that. So the answer is because we're not what we used to be. Gabar Chassid, Kifasu Emunim. We have a drasha. Gabar Chassid, Kifasu Emunim. Why don't know why they're not what? Because what are we asking them to do? If we're begging them to get involved in politics, so it becomes political. If we're begging them for spiritual leadership, you get spiritual leadership. If we want to be Mekubalim, they'll be Mekubalim. The mother is completely producing her milk based on the demands of the child. The spiritual demands of the child is completely manipulating, and that's the way it's supposed to be. The Gedolim, but it's even better than that. And then what? Then these same Gedolim, the Isha Misaperes Imbala is completely in conversation, inspired like Moshe Rabbeinu from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What a beautiful Reb Tzadok. Gomer Chasik Yifasa Monim the Haikra Mireisha L'Seifa Miseifa L'Reisha Medrash. And here's the whole thing that I just said. He's got a Gemara in Erechim in Yud Zayin. Parnes Lefi Hadar. Hadar Lefi HaParnes. The Gemara says both things. V'hai Kodem Kanal. Parnes Lefi Hador. You want to understand what's the pshat in Yiftach B'Dar Kishmol B'Dar? That's what was the right thing for that generation. If you want to upgrade, here's the message. You want to upgrade the Gedolim? Sounds like a chutzpah, right? You want to upgrade the Gedolim? Upgrade ourselves. Upgrade ourselves. Isn't it true if any Rosh Yeshiva or Rosh Kollel or rabbi or yourselves anywhere, or your kids are demanding, we really want to feel something at our Shabbos table. So you know what? You're all going to prepare to go to the Shabbos table. You're going to make sure that the Zmiris are good and the Torah is good and the atmosphere is good and that there's no machlokes at the Shabbos table. Nobody's feeling paregas at the Shabbos table. Why? Because they're demanding it. If they're not demanding it, you're not going to do it. So you have to listen to the demand on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have to demand every step of it. So that goes all the way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, I will let them work. Thank you for listening to me.
Isn't Dolev the
Harness of the outdoor.
No, but it wasn't the both.
Yeah.
Both done, and then that whatever the level of the harness is on is whatever the door.
Yeah, but he says hakohen. That's the last words here, right? Parnas lefi hador, or dor lefnei parnas, v'hai kodem canal. The parnas lefi hador. There's no yishuv in it, but that's the first. Know what he means?
There's machlokes in the Gemara. Which one happens?
He says here. That's a shaila in the Gemara. The Yisoid HaMachlokes Shalom hu hey kodem, which comes first? Hey kodem. Mi mehem mevi as hasheni l'shleimusay canal. Shebehemes b'nei ador hey me'elu shebar nesapardes avol k'viyam murgash v'nir layin Nin mekilu shapardes hu zeh shemar is b'nei ador. In other words, there's a chiluk between murgash and Metzias. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you. The She'ifa for Am Yisrael and Har Sinai. So, how do we understand the Har Kegigis aspect? If they were trying to pull down, is it like part of them was like the Liya Sheina part had to be Kofin, but really the Libi Air was requesting it? How do we?
I think it's the same thing as Yecheskel by the Golos. The Har Kegigis at that time was the Har Beis HaMikdash and the Golos. It's compelling. There was no choice. We have to look deeper.
Thank you. Thanks. It's very inspiring.
It says he should have said in Bala instead of Bala said in Rishon. So that means it's
also Latata, yeah.
Moshe says on this that somebody with Midas Amos could have Nebuah and Yekamel Chalamas in this part. That's when you have the good dreams.
Be to the end of the night.
So the thirst and the hunger, or Tino, I want to say that the Tino cries, because it could be, sometimes the
Doesn't say. Doesn't say the baby cries, just the Metzias.
So because also, a person's hunger and thirst is also internal. Like it's not a, it's not like it doesn't necessarily express itself as people going to Chabad and going and saying teaches Torah. It's like
it's a very good horror, a very important horror.
And then they come and see that there's a tzibur that
it doesn't require a physical demand, but it does require Avosenu, Tzakosenu, Nakosenu,
one of the Chabad's from on Pesach or something. This is the first moment of the the Geula was the Naka, whichever one of those cries, because so that an Eved doesn't have these cries because that's his life. But once someone has a hargasha of Pharaohs, then he's like, why am I in such a matzah? Like I shouldn't be.
I think he says that. I saw, yeah, beautiful in the Ana B'Choach Sefer, right? Because there it says, Shavosenu Kabel Ushmat Sakosenu. So he's saying that there's no nak. Doesn't he say that? Like that's where he talks about the order from what you don't cry at all, from you cry you don't even know you're crying.